first 3 questions are based on a passage. So as usual, take a deep breath, get into that zone, and I will just look at some questions in the interim if I've received any. No question, but a lot of nice, polite people wishing good noon and good afternoon. So very good afternoon to you. And a very warm hello and a hi to all of you who are here attending this session. If you are ready, let's dive into the passage. I will take you through the passage paragraph by paragraph. And the moment you're done reading a particular paragraph, let me know so that I can take you over to the next one. So here is the first paragraph of the passage on your screen now. All right, so quite a few of us are done, and here is the next paragraph for you. Oops, I seem to have a power cut at my part. Don't worry, the electricity will be restored soon and you will be able to see me normally. Until then, I'll just shut off the video so that it does not cause interference into your it does not interfere with your reading of the passage. Okay, done. So here is the next paragraph. And don't worry, you may not see me, but I'm very much around. I'm just waiting for the electricity to turn back on. Otherwise, you'd find it grainy to read. Damn, I also have. Okay, here is the next paragraph for you. Let me just fix up this another issue. Sonali, it actually comes from the word grain, right? Something which is smaller, tinier, right? So when you say granularity, in a way you are saying that, okay, you are, or as nowadays we use this term pixel peeping, right? You focus on the tiniest element, you dig deeper, make it smaller. I think the rest of the paragraph explains it too, right? Here is the next one. Prasanna, life is fair because it is unfair to everyone. Since life is unfair to everyone, I think it is in a way perversely fair. Ooh. So a passage that's actually very useful even for our day-to-day life. Do try to implement what the passage says and see if that works for you. So if we are done, then here is the question for you. The author of the passage will agree with all of the following except. So you know that this is kind of an inference-based question. So what's your answer? Okay. So I think when it comes to C, option C, some of us may have this issue with the word gruesome, but then remember in the passage they said that the reality may not necessarily be present, yet we need to confront it. Remember that line from the first paragraph? People were less happy when they attempted to avoid thinking about the present by thinking about the past or the future, right? And then the next paragraph started off by saying that, okay, even the present may not necessarily, that this is joy is found in present, although you may not necessarily find it joyous because even that can be painful, but then you use that granularity. So C is consistent with that. However, if we look at option B, to find peace, one must keep a track of all the good memories of the past and should recall a memory or two in order to uplift the mood. That actually goes on to contradict the passage. And therefore, because B contradicts what is stated in the passage, the author will obviously not agree with it. You notice, so when we say except, we say 3 of these the author will agree with, 1 the author will not agree with. So B is the one that he won't agree with, and that is why B should be our answer. And D can actually be had from, once again, the last couple of paragraphs where we've talked about diving into the granularity of the emotions. And with that, here is your next question. What is the main idea of this passage? Okay. Vaishnav, we are obviously supposed to pay attention to that. Okay, a lot of us are choosing C. So what is the main idea really? Let's see. How about A? The past and future both are the figments of imagination. The truth lies in the present moment. Okay, but that's not the main idea, right? The focus is not on the fact that past and future are figments of imagination. So good that you guys could rule it out. B, we can deal with the situations and the emotions in a better way by focusing on the present. Yes, that sounds good. C, the mind keeps on oscillating between the present and the past, and it is our duty to bring it under our conscious control. Does the passage really talk about what our duties are with respect to controlling of the unwavering mind? Huh? So, moreover, the passage said that there are some people who get into past and present to cope. It does not mean that the mind keeps on oscillating. So, if you look at it, C actually distorts it in a very subtle way. Keeps on oscillating is something that we cannot necessarily back up by the passage. Does not happen to everyone. Second, it is our duty to bring it under conscious control. Is not something given. Then duty to and then moreover, even this expression conscious control, you've seen that in the passage. We are talking about bringing it to the past, to the present, but conscious control, that once again is a distortion. So if I compare B and C, B is better than C. How about D? One can find more joy and peace in his life by keeping his attention. This in fact contradicts the passage. Remember, there is this line, let me just locate it and read it for you. Of course, living in the present does not necessarily mean more joy or any joy for that matter. If anything, focusing on the immediate present might well intensify your feelings of sadness, fear, or anger. So one can find more joy and peace, not necessarily, it's not backed up by the passage, and therefore even D can be eliminated. So the best answer choice for us is option B. I hope you are creating that mental overview of the passage where you have that key idea of every paragraph in your mind. Okay, so make sure that you do that. And here is the last question based on the passage. Which of the following is not true regarding getting into the granularity of the emotions? So tell me. Vaishnav, there is a particular situation where we can use assumptions. Remember, inference-based questions where no option is true, but there are multiple options which are can't say, so you have to pick and choose. That's where you use common sense, GK assumptions. The rest of the places we don't, of course. Okay, so we are getting C, D, A, B. My God, ये सारे options गोद ले लिए भाई आज तो लोगों ने. First, it is concerned with getting into the minutest of details of an emotion in order to identify its true nature. This is true. Notice what we are being asked for. We are being asked to choose something that is not true. Now, because first is true, first can definitely not be our answer. So let's eliminate A. B, it implies identifying an emotion on a substratum level rather than going by its gross nature. Substratum level is where you look at the underlying layers. So yes, you are looking at those underlying layers. So even second should be termed true. Remember that line, if there is something that is making you sad, try to go even deeper in your exploration and description. Ask yourself whether it is just sadness or is it actually despair, grief, misery, agony, rejection, insecurity, sorrow, or defeat. Is it just anger or is it, remember? So you are getting into the substratum level, and therefore second is also true. So B is also eliminated. Third, it involves identifying the true nature of an emotion and searching for the triggers which caused it in the first place. This part is true, but then searching for the triggers, this is something that the passage has not talked about, and therefore this is not true. And that is why the best answer for us should be option C. Right? So C it is. Then Sai has a question. What to do when a degree, college, just put it under others and then write it. If you go to the FAQ section of the website, you'd find this answer there as well. So if it is not present, it's absolutely okay. Choose others and then proceed. And don't worry, in all these years, I've been teaching for 22 years now, it's my 23rd year. I have always found IMs and the admission committee to be very sensible and very cognizant of the challenges that students in our country face in all these situations. They'd be more than accommodating towards any genuine candidate. Don't worry. Okay? So, chinta nahi karo. Just trust them. These are nice people. Okay? Right? So that takes care of the passage. Slightly challenging passage for some of us, and I think easy to moderate questions. Particularly if I look at third, I'd actually put it under easy to moderate. And with that, let's dive into our next area. So here are the directions for the next 5 questions. So I was working with some people a couple of days ago on our app, and a lot of them said that, sir, a little more practice on Parajumbles now. Okay, so I thought that, okay, let's just jack up a bit of Parajumbles too. And once again, I have lost electricity, so I will turn off the video so that it does not cause interference. And this time around, it did not take long to come back, so let me come back sooner. So here you go. Let's see. Man. So Parajumbles, here is the first one on the screen for you. And let me just fix it. I think there is a punctuation that requires fixing here. Let me fix it and then bring it back again. There's a spacing issue, okay? So here you go. Hash. Arey, of course Vaishnav hoti hai yaar. Go ahead. So let me know once you're done. Siddharth, I guess when it comes to specific detailed questions, a second one, because it used the word substratum, could have been a little bit challenging, but that's okay. We all learn from our mistakes. In fact, I very firmly believe that all of us are going to make a certain number of mistakes during our preparation. What that number is, how many mistakes are we going to make, is not known to anybody. So for somebody it could be 100 mistakes, for somebody else it could be 1,000 mistakes. Now the deal is, make a lot of mistakes in your preparation. the sooner you get rid of those number of mistakes that you're going to make, the sooner you get ready for the exam. So go ahead. और गलती करना है यार, गलती करना तो बहुत ही आसान काम है, इतना तो कर सकते हैं ना, गलतियां करो यार. Vaishnav, tricky? Let's see. So look at this. Look at fourth. Today, photographic amusements still remain beyond the boundaries of art, but they are hardly at the periphery of photographic practice. So, you know, photographic amusements, now that I check the rest of the paragraph, we're basically talking about what? Filters, and you remember filters are amusing. They're fun, right? So that's what we are talking about. And then when I look at second essentially gives you evidence for 4. So look at fourth. Photographic amusements are hardly at the periphery of photographic practice. So when second says Snapchat, home of augmented reality masks, IPO'd at 3 times the amount. I mean, imagine Adobe is a solid sound organization that has some amazing products that are used a lot, but then Snapchat IPO'd at 30 billion, 3 times that amount. So you cannot really call these the periphery of photographic practices. Okay, and therefore 4 and 2 are definitely connected. And thereafter, you notice first talks about filter fakers asking people to submit, and then in third it analyzes. So obviously you have to submit first, and it's only then that it will get analyzed. So I have 2 mandatory pairs here now, 4 and 2, 1 and 3. Now the question now is, what should I put first? 4 and 2 first or 1 and 3 first? So if I put 1 and 3 first, you notice the focus is now on filter fakers, right? 1 and 3. And thereafter 4 and 2 will make no sense. There will be no transition whatsoever. On the other hand, if I start with 4 and 2, the theme of the paragraph becomes photographic amusements, okay, filters. And thereafter if I put 1 and 3, it still makes sense. So the transition from 2 to 1, transition between 4 and 2 to 1 and 3 is shaky, it is not smooth, but it still makes sense because 1 and 3 can be put under that broad theme of photographic amusement / filters. But if you start with filters, then moving towards a broader picture and augmented reality and their market value, we'd have no justification whatsoever. And that is why I'll prefer putting 4 and 2 before 1 and 3, and thus 4, 2, 1, 3 should be the sequence that we follow. Okay. Sai, I'll look at it. Just drop in a hi once again in the second half so that the message pops up to the top of the category. All right. और थोड़ा टाइम दिया कर यार, तूने कल भेजा, आज भाई बंदा काम भी कर रहा होता दूसरे साथ साथ. Okay, here is the next one. साई, मैंने तुझे बोला सेकेंड हाफ में मैसेज डालने को, तूने अभी डाल दिया. फोकस ऑन द क्वेश्चन. दिस इज नॉट सेकेंड हाफ येट, कम ऑन. I'll not be free until then, and then if there are more messages that come in, then it will once again go down. Man, seriously, where is comprehension and patience? Okay guys, answer to the fifth. beautiful notion refers to the notion that is mentioned in first. So you see that connection. Then fourth starts with but, you know that it should come after. Those of us who are putting in 2 at the beginning, look at this, huh? It says the theory. Which theory? The theory which is mentioned in first. So second should not come before first. So ideally, first introduces a theory. Third says it was a beautiful notion, but as we know, now but shows contrast. So this is contradicting 1, right? So you can have 1 and 3 and then you can put in but the planets do not orbit the earth, but the sun, they do not travel in circles but in ellipses, and they certainly do not emit blah blah blah. Okay, in the words of Aristotle, now this is paraphrasing, melodious and poetical as the theory is, it cannot be a true account of the facts. So we would ideally want to put it as 1, 3, 4 and 2. So why did I put 2 later? The theory, remember the, when do we use it? When the noun is known to us, and it's normally known when it has been introduced earlier. So don't start with 2. 2 has to come after 1. I'm not saying immediately after, but after. Fourth definitely needs 1 before it. So ideally I would want 1, 4, but then where do I put in 3? Putting in before 1, it can be done, but it is not normally done, and therefore it is better to have 1, 3, 4, and then 2 essentially paraphrases or reiterates 4. So we are putting it afterwards. Here is the next question for you. Go ahead, give this one a shot. Siddharth, it's okay. As I said a little while ago, making mistakes is the easiest job. Please make sure that you continue to do it. The sooner you get rid of all the mistakes that are inside you, the sooner you'd start getting the questions right. So, bhai, khul ke galti karo. Oops, did I accidentally ended up changing the question? Ooh, Ranit, that's fast. Ranit, just focus on this in fact. Think of this transitional expression and when we use it, and look at the ideas and then see if we need something else in between. So see third. So let us start with second. I normally love transitional expressions, and we know but is straightforward, but requires something which is opposite. So but says, if we think back, many adults will recall that their philosophical wanderings began in childhood. What do you need before it? Many adults do not recall that their philosophical wanderings did not begin in childhood. They do not recall it, right? So that contrast is provided by the second half of third. We assume that they do not really understand the philosophical dimension of the larger questions they pose. But those philosophical wanderings began in childhood. So if you want to justify the use of but, you definitely need to put in 3 right before 2. So that is one mandatory pair for us. Then when do we use in fact? In fact is used to state a similar idea. In fact, I can make it even more specific. In fact brings in some evidence, some specific detail of an idea which has been stated earlier. So second, many adults will recall that their philosophical wanderings began in childhood. For a lot of us, in fact, childhood is the period of life which we spend the most time wondering. So it's basically giving you a similar idea to it. So let's put 1 here, and then look at, for that matter, the interest of quite a few professional philosophers in the field emerged from an early enthusiasm for questioning, which can be thought of as an extension of first. So 3, 2, 1, 4 should be our best sequence, and here is your next question. And I think a lot of us have actually who attacked it systematically started getting this right. 7th. Ooh. Let us see how you deal with this doozy. Let us see who sets the ball rolling. Okay. So we're getting 3, 4, 2, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2. I have a problem with 3, 4, and I'll tell you what. Look at 4th. It says in such an approach. So if I use 3, 4, this pronoun such will refer to the first analysis or the second. They'll be ambiguous. It'll create a situation where, just to use a technical expression, I'll explain it, I promise. We say this, that in this scenario, the antecedent of the pronoun will not be clear. So antecedent is the noun that the pronoun refers to. So if you put 3, 4, the noun for such will not be clear. Let me give you an example. If I say that, hey, there is a fly on your nose, may I remove it? There is a fly on your nose, may I remove it? What does the pronoun it refer to? It refers to the fly or the nose. Now the chances are you'd say the fly, but then think, that's your common sense talking, right? That's your common sense talking. There is no grammatical rationale for it, for the it to refer to the fly. It can also refer to the nose. You know, for example, if I say, oh, there is mold on this bread, throw it out. What would you throw out? The mold or the entire bread? Obviously the entire bread. So we don't know really, right? So similarly, if you put 3, 4, we not have this clarity of the antecedent for 4, and therefore if I look at good writing practices, I should not do that. Which means that let's skip 3, 4. If we skip 3, 4, then the next obvious choice is 3, 1. So grammar to our help. And then look at second. Second is therefore it is a conclusion and it talks about the overall strategy. So this conclusion is based on first and fourth. So 3, 1, 4 and then 2 later will make more sense. Okay. So 1 and 4, look at fourth. In such an approach, there is a sort of progression from a sentence this to corresponding logical structure in thought. Therefore, The overall strategy I'm describing is based on the idea that difference in meaning point to specific differences in conceptual representations. And see, the conceptual representation is mentioned in one, right? So that tells you that it still comes after. And this such an approach can only now in this case refer to the latter, the second approach. If you put forth after 2, you once again will have that confusion. So 3, 1, 4, 2. So 2 does not have an approach. Mind you, 2 is a overall strategy. And therefore there is nothing that can be referred to. So here is the next one. Oh, condition R, artistic production. How did I miss out on this? Hang on, I'll just fix it on the slide as well. Interesting. Ranit Abbayar, I cannot really comment on what to do without looking at that mock and your performance, sir. So I am equally concerned. 43. 43 is not bad though, huh? 43 should definitely, I don't know which mock it is that we're talking about, but 43 should also lead to definitely a 97, 98 percentile, if not more, if it was indeed a difficult paper. Huh? Kaustav Vinayak 3-1. Really? Are they actually contrasting? Look at first. Obviously this is true, but it is important to remember that the reverse is also true. So what is happening in third? Political supremacy requires myths to prop it up. And this part is similar. It is not contrasting. So if you put 3-1, you will not be able to justify the use of the word but. So it can't be 3-1. So what is getting contradicted by 1? So 1 says power relies heavily on narratives to perpetuate itself. But 2 and 4, they are saying that commerce, we usually believe, dictates the direction of aesthetic currents. Patronage, giving money. Patrons are the ones who would generally give artists the money in overt or covert forms, and the market condition our artistic production. So in a way we are saying that money determines what kind of art gets produced, and money is kind of power. Okay, it's one aspect of power. But then first says, so far we are saying that art relies on money. First says that hey, power also relies on narratives, which is in a way art, stories, right? So that's the contrast that we are talking about. So 2 and 4 are talking about the same idea. 2 is general, 4 is a little more specific, so I've put it as 2, 4. And then 1 provides that contrast, justifies the but. And thereafter, when you look at 3 is a continuation of first. It gives you a similar idea, so let's put it at the end. So we would actually like to write 2, 4, 1, 3. We may have. So this particular question relied a little more heavily on idea-based clues. They usually make the questions tougher, but I'm sure given enough time, a lot of you would go ahead and conquer these as well. So 2, 4, 1, 3 for question number 8. And here is something for your mind. Your greatest achievement will always be your life story. Make sure that you live a life that is worth narrating to others.